Welcome back, folks, to another episode of Business from the Bass Boat Podcast on the Serious Angler Network, powered by X2 Power. And guys, today we are in a makeshift studio, still getting set up. It's been a whirlwind of moving and getting everything going here in Idaho. So I am closer to the West Coast stuff, fringe West Coaster. And also, I'm just super excited to be here. There's a lot of untapped fisheries, I think, out here. There's some that are getting popular from a name standpoint that have really big smallmouth in them. But what's been cool is I've been finding out other ones. So actually, I'm getting on the water this weekend, headed out to a CJ Strike Reservoir local tournament the following weekend. And I, again, haven't been on any of these lakes, so I'm excited to break them down and see how similar they are to other places in the country. I think they're, a lot of river systems, current, and big smallmouth and big largemouth, and finding out. So excited for that kind of a thing. But without further ado, we're kind of continuing on the West Coast theme, but also a big twist here in just tournament directors in general has been a big play. So a guy that I have had a blast with on stage, and just someone who's super fun to be around and runs a great tournament series is Mr. Alan Gray with Major League Fishing. Let's bring him in. What's going on, Alan?
Hey, man, I tell you, it's going. But you kind of hit on the whole tournament director thing. From a guy living in Kentucky and watching your show, your podcast, and really getting to hear these other tournament directors talk has been phenomenal for me. So I've loved the whole kind of West Coast tournament director series. It's been very interesting, and to hear, kind of what we go through full time and how they're doing it is pretty cool.
It's been great. Dude. No, for sure. And I feel like that is something that I don't know how much, especially between different organizations, right? Like tournament directors talk, but it'd be cool to see that perspective, how, like you said, how other guys are doing things. And, at the end of the day, you're a competition, but you're doing the same thing of getting guys out on tournaments and on the water. So it's kind of a cool thing to, I guess, I could see how that would be an interesting thing, being in your position, like, oh, I've had that happen, or those kinds of things.
Yeah. You hear stuff too, like, I've been wanting to do that for years, or, great idea, or like, oh, that's never going to work. You know what I mean? I'm hearing it as their mind is natural and raw and talking on the spot with you. I just love the different angle coming from my job. We always watch podcasts of, Ish Monroe, KVD, right, Jacob Wheeler, but we don't see very many podcasts of my job. So it's been great. I've loved it.
Cool. Well, that's good to hear, man. Glad we've got one listener going. So that's always good.
You got me, brother.
We got you. But dude, I mean, the first thing I wanted to talk about, really more than anything, is how you got into tournament director role. I mean, that is like there's a select few really across the country. And it's always one of those things. I'm like, how did guys get into this? Because it's a really cool thing. It's a stressful thing, but it's something that I've always wanted to kind of ask people.
Man, it can happen in a day, or it can take time. And for me, it took time. Okay. It was one of those deals where I was kind of at a point, I was like 30 years old and life changing. I was a business development manager for Coca-Cola in Illinois. Grew up fishing rivers, creeks, ponds, making the annual trips with my dad, all over the country fishing, going to observers while he was fishing the Redman series, Midwest, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I was around fishing my whole life, but had some family issues when I was like 29, 30, and thought, gosh, my dad had just retired from the Army and bought some property on Kentucky Lake.
Cool.
And I went through some family.
So what year is this Kentucky? Like, what era are we talking?
2006.
Oh yeah.
So a minute.
Yeah. No, but I just mean, like, I'm thinking of like when the heyday, right? Like when was the heyday? It was like the late 2010s, right? It was like when, like, the mid 2010s is when Kentucky Lake was really going off.
When I first got here in 2006, it was really getting good. We had a ton of matted grass all summer. You could fish all summer long with a frog out on the main river, main lake. and just wreck them. And people really didn't know about it yet. And then you're right. The 2010s was when you seen KVD come down, or Kevin Gordon with the big spoons on the ledges, and they had zapped all the grass pretty much, so you could get out on the offshore ledges. And that's when Kentucky Lake was back. It was the mega lake that we used to know, but unfortunately, it is brutal. It's tough.
I was lucky enough to in a high school national championship on Kentucky Lake. We were in second after day one. It was like the biggest bag of fish I'd ever weighed in like 2014. You know, I mean, we had just an awesome ledge day, and then say like right before that, I fished a rayovac at the time, I believe.
Oh yeah,
as a co-angler, came out and fished one of those just to learn, just to be on that, like, you know, being from Colorado, I'd never seen ledges or anything like that. Yeah. So it was like I went and fished one as a co-angler, and talk about an incredible experience. This is just for anyone out there. I don't think I've ever talked about this. Youths that are interested in high-level tournament fishing. Like, of course, you know, we're seeing now a huge resurgence of like dads taking their high schoolers out to big tournaments, and, you know, those kinds of things, that guys who have boats, and that's all really, really cool and great, you know. And just my experience didn't have that situation. I had parents that were super supportive, but my dad just didn't fish, right? So it was like, from that perspective, going out to these events as a co-angler, and yes, it's $500, don't get me wrong, but you have a chance to win a boat, like right behind you there. That's huge. But those kinds of things, like as a co-angler, I will never forget the two gentlemen that I met fishing a rayovac as a co-angler, being in high school. Because first of all, in high school, they're super awesome, and they're just so willing to teach a kid like that. And they're not, you know, both of my draws were so incredibly the opposite of cutthroat that it's not even, you know, super sharing the water, all that kind of a thing. And to bring it full circle, I ended up fishing against the guy in a Toyota Series on Lake of the Ozarks, that same guy who drew me 10 years ago. And he's like, holy crap. You know, I mean, it's just the coolest thing ever. And it just, especially because I'm not tied into those communities, right? It's like I'm such a spread out away. It's just a really cool thing.
When people don't realize that it is such a small industry, something like that happens and opens somebody's eyes, like, whoa, it is a small industry, because it will always come back somehow, some way. It always does.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but dude, sorry to completely derail that. It just got me thinking on Kentucky Lake. But you rolled into Kentucky Lake. You're in your 29, 30 years old. And then what happened?
Yeah. I decided to make a move and just come down and kind of focus my life within. And unfortunately, at 29, 30 years old, I was moving back in with mom and dad. You know, single, moving home, and just I just needed a break. And, you know, I'm watching FLW on TV. I got the FLW magazine, you know, even when I lived in Illinois. And my dad says, hey, you know, the company that runs this TV show and that magazine is right here in Benton, Kentucky. I was like, what? Oh my gosh. I wonder if we can go over there and they'll give us a tour, you know. I don't know. We can try, you know. So sure enough, the next day we just drove over to the office, and sure enough, they gave us kind of a little walk around the office and looked. I mean, our office is absolutely amazing. If anybody's ever in Western Kentucky, please stop by the office. The halls are covered with history and beautiful frames, and you can still see the Forest Wood Cup in our boardroom, you know, with a picture of Erwin Jacobs on one side and Forest Wood on the other. You know, I've got, you know, a Forest Wood hat right there. This whole building is full of just fantastic history of the sport, and it would just blow you away.
Can you like, do you have to like call in advance? Like, is that like an actual thing that the public can do?
Come on, find me on Facebook if you're watching. Just shoot me a message. Hey, I'm in town. Can I come to the office? Absolutely. And it don't even gotta be me. You can show up at the front door, and I promise you, we have someone in the building that would love to show you around. We're very blessed with this amazing building. Yeah, love to see anybody come through. And then maybe I always try to dig out some swag or something for anybody, you know, that shows up at the door. I mean, shoot, I've got something I can give away in here. Trust me. I collect a lot of the old stuff. I mean, directly in front of me, obviously we can't see it off camera, but I have a bunch of the old Red Man aluminum tins that they gave out full of tobacco at the registration meetings. You know, like I said, that is an original. Where's it at? It's this way. I'm backwards on camera. The original Red Man, you know, the original one. I've got up there across the very top. I have every color of the old school Red Mans. I got a spinnerbait from Midwest Bass and Redman with the old FLW logo on the blades. I just collect all the vintage stuff. I've got all, you can't see it. I wish you could, but over there, I've got every float. The boat floats we throw you guys in the mornings.
Yeah.
Every year or every time we've changed it, I've got them in a line going across.
Dude, you've got it like the swag. Like that is like that's a rival to any like studio I've seen from thinking of like Matt Pangrak and Mark Jeffries with Bass Zone. Like they've got some cool stuff. Like, dude,
I love it. I mean, here, check this out. Right in front of me. Let's see. 1, 2. Here, I'll get this one. This is kind of, sorry, I'm all up in your face. This one's kind of cool. I collect bump boards. I don't know if you saw that on my social media. Somebody put a post of a bump board out there. It was a joking matter at first, but I was being serious. I collect bump boards. And this, let's see, I know it's going to be backwards on camera.
There you go. You got it right.
An official Operation Bass Redman bump board, still with the plastic on it, man.
Wow.
You know, just kind of neat history. And then we'll get into it. But I was the walleye tour director for a while, 2 years. And we got the bump boards that the great big ones. And then I know I'm getting crazy here, showing off all my toys. We had a striper series.
No way. When was the striper series?
Dude, when I first started here in 2008, we had a striper series, a redfish, and a kingfish series. And I started out
Great Lakes, like
no, all offshore. You know,
kingfish. What's a kingfish? I don't know. I mean,
saltwater.
Okay.
And I'll be honest with you, I had just started in the industry, and what is a kingfish? All I know is they had like 5 to 7 man teams, and it was a nightmare in my position in customer service getting them all signed up. But this was like the official. It's huge.
Oh yeah, dude.
The official bump board for the striper series. So yeah, so I'm a huge collector of history.
Yeah.
And our office is full of it. Granted, they probably want to get in here and get some of mine. I don't know. Anyway. So yeah, so come and see us. We'd love to have you. But yeah, 2008 or 2006 and a half, I started trying to get my foot in the door in the fishing industry. Of course, stopped up here, grabbed an application.
Yeah.
And I'm a pleasantly persistent kind of guy. I called every single Friday for a year and a half. Uh-oh. Somehow I lost.
What'd you lose?
I don't know.
Okay.
For a year and a half, every Friday, I called and talked to the HR guy, Jim Moss. He's no longer here, but I remember his extension was 623. And I just wanted to clean the toilets. Let me vacuum the floors on the weekends. I just wanted to get my foot in the door. And I would call on Friday. Hey, are y'all hiring? Nope, Alan, we're not. Okay, Jim, I'll talk to you next Friday. And eventually, he's like, you know what, Alan, I think we might be able to get you your foot in the door. You're going to be in an office in our customer service department with 13 other women. It's not really, maybe what you want to do. But so I was like, yeah, I don't care. Yeah, I'd love to. So yeah, sure. I jumped in and worked in our customer service department, answering the phones, taking entries, signing up kingfish and striper guys that I don't even know we did.
Yeah.
And, it was pretty cool. Did that for a year and a half. And then eventually they asked me if I would go out on the tour, and pulled the big stage trailer for the tour, the series, and what now is a Toyota series on the East Coast. I said, oh man, I'd love to. I'd get out and go work tournaments, be a part of it next to the fishermen. I was a super fan. So of course. And then one day I was at the East versus West fish off for the series. West Coast versus East Coast on Lake Chickamauga. And and Chris Hoover, which at that time was a tournament director for the Toyota series, said, Alan, I've got some issues I got to take care of. You're going to need to weigh the fish today. I was like, whoa. I'm like, dude, that's not happening. I set up sound, the TVs, I play the anthem, I help tear down, and, I'm just, no. I don't even know what I'm looking at. No. And he's like, come on, man, I need some help. You can do this. I'll show you what the scales say, which button to push. It's only 10 anglers.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm just telling you not to do one of these, but I grabbed that microphone and the first guy came up and it was just like, I love this.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
I want to do this. And he came back after a dozen anglers And I was like, all right, here we go. I'm going to turn it back over to tournament director Chris Hoover, and he'll continue the weigh-in. And he was like, you're good. Stay up there. And I fell in love with being that side of the tournament, being next to the guys like yourself, and getting to share that emotion with the anglers. And anyways, 6 months, I don't know, a year of that, and got to weigh in all my heroes from Dion Hibden to Larry Nixon, everybody in the only person I've never weighed in was Kevin Van Dam.
That you wanted to weigh in. Yeah.
Of course.
Wow.
I mean, everybody. I've weighed Gerald Swindle fishes all my BFL. I mean, you name it. Name me another guy. I've weighed them all the way back to some of the old legendary anglers. Jimmy Houston, but KVD, because he was so elite series path at that time. And then, of course, when they came over here, they don't do weigh-ins.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's probably the only one. So I've been blessed to be able to weigh people in. Long story short, they offered me a BFL tournament director's job to run 2 BFL divisions, but still MC the tour. So I would.
Interesting.
BFL. A division of a BFL is 5 tournaments a year. So I did 10 BFLs plus traveled with the tour just to MC it.
Gotcha.
Loved it. Great life. Only did that for 1 year. And then they said, you know what? You're going out to walleye. We're going to go up north to Minnesota, South Dakota, North Dakota. And I said, what? They said, well, you're from the north. That only makes sense. Well, okay. I don't even know what lures. What's a bottom bouncer?
Right.
These guys use real bait? What? Bait what? Leeches? Mud cats? Anyways. And I was the walleye tour director for 2 years. And then one thing led to another. Back to BFL, walleye sold. And then I've, as you know, and everybody here hopefully watching knows, over the last 2 years, I've been blessed to be able to still do 4 divisions of the BFL, which is 20 qualifiers. And of course,
you do so many, man.
Man, I made a Facebook post the other day because I just built my folders.
Oh, I saw this.
Yeah, there's so many tournaments and there's so many permits and staff housing. You've got to keep it straight. I think my Facebook post, I've got 31 tournaments next year that I'll be a part of, including the 3 Toyota series out west, and of course 3 college and 3 high school out on the western side of the country. So very, very busy. But I've gone a lot for my family, but this is the best job in the world. Like I said earlier, I get to be next to you guys when you succeed, and I get to be the first person that gives the high five. And a lot of times it's a big hug too. And, but then I also get to be that guy when I can see it in their eyes that they didn't win that day. And I can be the one that's there to kind of shake their hand, tell them, dude, next time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's an amazing career, an amazing job. I'm so blessed. Things happen for a reason, and God put me in Western Kentucky for a reason. And now I get to do this. Amazing. And I've been doing it for next year. I think will be my 14th or 15th year as a tournament director. I've been doing it a long time. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
That's an awesome just story through the career and getting your foot in the door. Like, I think that's something we talked about in this a bunch of, just leave it, just getting a pinky toe in the door, whatever you can do to try and get in if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I can remember when they finally hired me, HR asked me, so what's your goals and aspirations? I'm like, I want to be a tournament. That's what I want to do. I want to run tournaments one day. And he says, we don't have much turnover.
Those guys hold those positions forever, right? Like every time, like when you see a tournament director, it's like 30 years, right? Like it's a long time.
Nobody's giving it up.
Yeah, they love it.
Best job in the world, man. Well, like I said, we get to travel all over.
Right.
And we get to just be a part of the sport that we have had a passion for since we were babies, since we were 5, 3, you know what I mean? And there's not many jobs. There's not many careers that you're just on the move from one town to the next. I say we're glorified carnies is what we are.
Right.
No disrespect to anybody that works at a carnival. No disrespect at all, but we are glorified carnies. I've literally had to write down on my notes or on my hand, just like the old rock and roll, thank you, Detroit. Because you're in one town, the next weekend you're in another one.
Wow.
It gets April, May, June, every weekend. Every weekend. Last weekend, or last year, or this year actually, from like March to Memorial Day, somewhere in there is like 17 straight weeks. I was gone 15 out of 17.
Holy cow.
And people would say, well, why would you do that? You know, your family time? Well, because June, July, November, December, January, February, I'm home.
Right.
You know, I'm sitting in this office, I'm working on permits, I'm home with my family. So it's a sacrifice to do this job. It's endless. This thing, I've taken 3 calls since we've been on this already. It never ends. But there's promise you, there's another one. I promise you, but I'm blessed to be able to do it, and I love doing it.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. That's great to hear, and it's cool to see when someone, and I've seen it on stage with you, when you have that passion of something that you're doing. Like, I think it's hard for a lot of people to find that one thing, you know, that it's like, man, I feel like I was built for this, and that's like totally you know, with that kind of a thing. That's
well,
awesome.
I'll never forget, and I even wrote it in my little notes here, just a little cheat sheet in front of me. I've got questions for you. But you don't mind that when I call you on the stage preacher, do you?
No, I love it,
Okay.
dude.
I kind of nicknamed you last year the preacher.
Preacher, because my last name's Deakin.
It makes sense. The preacher next to the scales. Yes, baby, let's go. And, you know, yes, I'm very colorful.
Yeah.
Loud. But man, I can tell you back when I used to go to those red band tournaments, fished BFLs, you know, here on Kentucky Lake before I was a tournament director.
Yeah.
Not to say that any of those were bad directors, but I was just, you know, it can be monotonous.
Right.
It can be dry.
150 guys lined up, and you're just boom.
Yeah. Boom. You know, and it can get boring. So I said, God, if I ever had the chance to do that, which I never will, but if I ever did, God, I want to make that so fun. You know, I want to make the guy that catches 1 bass for 211 that day feel like he did something, you know, still to every one of them. And I promise you, the first year of my BFL, all my staff, or the staff that works for FLW at the time, hated working with me because the weigh-ins were like 4 hours because I was interviewing. Oh, dude, I interviewed everybody, you know, because I wanted to give everybody their time, you know, and people, the bag lines were a mile long, you know, the tub lines. And I'm like, hey, I was in his shoes a year ago.
Yeah.
And I would want the opportunity to, you know, anyways. And I realized real quick, I was like, you can't do that, Alan. It's just, you can't. And fish care, time, it just doesn't work. So I still try to make everybody feel important when they come across the stage, period.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. No, it's cool to watch you do your thing for sure. And I think everyone kind of feels it as anglers that are up there. And then the crowd too. The crowd loves it. Like, it's fun. You're cracking jokes and all kinds of stuff. So it's fun to watch. And you're always like hyped up, man. Like, you've got to have so much Red Bull in your system. Like, I know you hit the gym before you get up there, and then it's just like, you're just going.
I thought about taking a little pre-workout before the weigh-ins because I do daily at the gym, you know?
Yeah.
I was a little worried about like itching and looking like, you know, I was
just
addicted
like yeah.
So I don't, but yes, I've gotten used to hitting like one of those new watermelon Red Bulls.
Okay.
No sponsor related, but yeah. So no, man, it's just, I don't know what it is. It turns on, you know, even in the mornings, you know.
Dude. Yeah. You get people fired up. It's like sometimes it's like waking up, having a cup of coffee, and it's like, good morning. It's like, whoa, here we go.
I had a guy in Alabama tell me this year, he's like, dude, I love your prayers. You know, I play music at takeoff. He says, but when you're done praying, it's so powerful. It's so aggressive. He said, I just want to punch my co-angler in the face when I'm done hearing you pray. I love it. So I was like, all right, I love it. I'll take that. If that's a positive thing, just punch him dead in the face.
Yeah, if it's out of love and you're just fired up to go start catching him, like, you hit him, man.
Just get fired up. Again, it's 5 a.m. You know, let's wake them up. Let's get amped up. We're fixing to go 70 miles an hour.
Oh, that's the best part. The best part of bass fishing is boat race in the morning. I'm telling you.
Prayer, anthem, sunrise, a boat race.
Yeah.
Who wants to be like boat number 3? Boat number 6.
Yeah, exactly.
No, give it to them, man. Let's wake up. Let's get jacked. Let's go get them.
I like it.
To win a tournament.
Yeah. So with the West Coast stuff, because obviously you got the West Coast Toyota Series, and what are the 4 BFL divisions that you do? Are they close there to you? Where like how does that spread out?
There's 24 divisions total in the BFL from New York,
So many, yeah.
Florida, Wisconsin, Oklahoma, Texas, and they're all piled in there. There's 6 of us BFL tournament directors that run those 24 divisions. So we all do 4 divisions.
Okay.
And we actually pick divisions every year like you would a fantasy football draft.
No way.
Every year. It's our favorite day of the year when we pick divisions. It's going to decide what I'm going to do.
That's cool. I didn't realize it changed because I just figured, there's like, okay, the guy that lives in the Northeast, he's going to be this guy or, whatever it is. But you guys get to choose.
We do. And, it really started way back a long time ago with Charlie Evans. He really only wanted us to have a division 1 or 2 years in a row because unfortunately, or it's a good thing we build these strong relationships with the anglers, but unfortunately, it's really hard to wear that striped shirt to be the referee, the tournament director of those events when you get too close to some of the anglers. And it may never come up, but anytime your integrity is in check, I'm a fun guy, I'm a blast guy, I'm a jacked guy, but I'm an honest guy. And I'm an honest tournament director, and I will, unfortunately, I'll disqualify my mama, but because I have to, and then we're still going to be buddies at the end of the day. But by limiting the amount of years in a row doing the same division over and over and over again, of course, we gravitate towards people.
There's some bias that could build up, so it makes sense to me.
Sure. So what we do is we go in seniority. We have our senior tournament director. His name is Mike Hale. He's been a BFL tournament director for 26 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And then of course, Robert Evans is above, or just below him, and then me, and then Leroy and Steve, and it just keeps going down. So what we do is we have on our board, we have North tournament divisions and South tournament divisions, and we each have to pick 2 divisions from each side.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, it's like literally like a draft split up. And
it starts with Mike, and because he's got seniority, and he takes 1, and then Robert, and then me, and then down the list. The only thing it doesn't do, which I've tried switching back in the day when I was on the back end of it, I wanted the serpentine.
Right, the snake draft.
No, it's not. We go back to Mike, and Mike
so he gets double seniority.
Yeah, stays on seniority side. Well, now I'm on the upside of seniority. So no. We stay on what we've been doing for the last 15 years. But yeah, so we pick 4 divisions every year. They change. So it's a little exciting. Like in 2024, I have 2 divisions. Believe it or not, I've done this for 15 years. I've never had these 2 divisions before.
No way. Wow.
There's still a few, like North and South Carolina, never had them. I've had Northeast. Whew, it's a 24-hour drive from Benton, Kentucky to Champlain, and you do it several times. And I've had that division a few times from the Gator division. I mean, I've had them all except a very few. And so next year I've got a couple new ones. I'm excited.
Cool. And with the West Coast stuff, are you flying out then for that? Or are you like, do the trailers stay out here?
Yeah. We have an amazing crew out there.
Yeah.
From Todd, that Goonhart that pulls the trailer. He has been doing it 30 years, 28, I think it was last year. He's been pulling that trailer on the West Coast for like 28 years. Amazing. You look at him and you talk to him, you're like, Todd, the man has taught me more in the last 2 years, I'm telling you, than I ever thought. Amazing. And then the relationship that him and I have, I'm kind of this OCD. My hat has to match my shoes. You
got swag, man. You're always up there like dialed in.
Got to, man. It's the whole package. But we're kind of a prima donna, this and that. Where Todd is literally, his real career is a lumberjack in Northern California. And he shows up in his Carhartt breeches and his steel toe boots and just his MLF t-shirt. And we are yin and yang, but it's perfect.
Yeah.
And he calls me the worst names in the world, but I know he loves me, and that's why he does it. So we've got Todd that pulls that trailer out there. Sal Gervasi's fairly new to be a part of the operations side. I mean, like the last 4 or 5, maybe 6 years. But I'm telling you what, man, the relationship that I've got a chance to build with Sal has been amazing. He is kind of my eyes and ears on the West Coast since I live in Kentucky. We talk on the phone every week of the year. I'd say 2 to 3 times a week. We may just talk about his grandkids, but we stay in touch. We talk. He's the one that represented us in the Jamboree,
Cool.
So instead of me flying out there, we have a lot of meetings and stuff. Him and I talk, discuss, work, and he represents Major League Fishing at the Jamboree for us. He is a vital part to our tournaments on the West Coast. Without Sal, I don't know what we do. He's that important. I love the dude, and he's a hard worker. He retired from UPS. He's had a great career, and he loves to be a part of tournaments, and we're glad to have him. So he lives out there. Of course, Barry pulls our live release boat. He lives there at the Delta. Fantastic guy. So those people are out there. And then, of course, Alex Galvin, we had a couple of years. We hope to have him back for 2024. We'll see. But Alex was brand new to tournament, not tournament fishing. He's been to the high school national championships, so he knows the sport.
Yeah.
But the operation side, he was kind of like what I called my Army Swiss knife. He could do anything and everything and wanted to do them. So hopefully he'll be back in 24. But anyway, so we got this team that lives there. And yes, to answer your question the long way, Michael, our tournament administrator, and myself, we fly out to those. But all the BFLs, we drive because we have so many supplies for all these trailers. Now, I don't cool a trailer. Okay. We have 10 BFL trailers, just like the Toyota series, strategically placed all over the country.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So to save on money, and those are what we call our part-time staff. So if I'm at Lake St. Clair, we have a trailer that's in Sandusky, Ohio area, and he literally drives 45 minutes up to St. Clair, and I meet him there.
Right. Right.
So we've got a team all over the country, but yes, we have several trailers. But yeah, West Coast, it's a fly-in job. Which don't let them fool you. You fly a little bit. The flight time's a whole 6 hours, right? 6 hour flight time. Yeah, right. It's a 16-hour day.
Right.
It's brutal.
Air travel, I go back and forth on stuff like that because there's so many times where it's like at the end of the day, if it's like let's say it's like an 8-hour drive or a 2-hour flight, I guess it'd be, I don't know what that ratio is, but like you kind of get to the point where you're like, it's not that far off.
Like airport in Nashville is an hour and a half from me. Then you got to go through security. That's another hour. Then I'm going to wait there for a half hour to wait to board. Oh, let's not forget the 20 minutes of taxi and around the stinking airport. Yeah. What a nightmare. But hey, at least I don't have to drive out there. So I will take.
That's true.
My 14 to 16 hour day of going through rental cars and whatnot, rather than the 3-day drive and back three times a year. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Sweet. Well, I think that's a good transition to talk I guess about the Jamboree. I mean, like that is something that I just learned about through talking to tournament directors, right? This last little bit here and on this whole West Coast theme. But like, is that only a California thing? Is there no other states that do something like that where you have to have a representative to talk through the tournaments, or does that kind of differ vastly from everything else?
There's a few states that do something similar.
Okay.
I've got a tournament next year on Ross Barnett in Mississippi. There is a in-person tournament director meet just for that lake, where California does the whole state, but they break it up to a north and a south Jamboree. Illinois, if you go to any state-owned boat ramp, they don't allow you to just call up the boat ramp, say, hey, I'm Alan, I'd like to have a tournament there. Will you pencil me down on your calendar? They literally have like November 1st, first come, first serve. So November 1, I will be up at midnight trying to make sure.
Oh, wow.
Right. Indiana is a draw, but it's electronic. So you have to go on at this time on this day, and it's electronic. So there's a few states, but California it's the most different because let's just use Kentucky Lake where I live. If somebody wants to have a tournament up on the furthest north end on the dam, they'll allow it. They'll also allow a tournament to go out of Paris, Tennessee on the south end of the lake with another 200-boat tournament. And then you can go down to New Johnsonville and have another one, where California says one permit, one tournament organization on one day, period. So I don't care if you're at the Delta, obviously large enough to fish as many boats as can be out there.
Mega,
they won't let anybody. So if I'm awarded the permit for the Delta, there's no other tournament that can be on that lake on that day.
And that's like, we're talking, even if it's like a Tuesday nighter or like, you are, doesn't matter if there's 3 bass clubs that want to have a Thursday nighter out there, like you're stuck to one.
Yeah, exactly. Where a lot of the lakes in the rest of the country, it's by number of boats per permit. It's like Lake of the Ozarks. I can have on my permit, on my marine regatta permit, forecast that we're going to have 175 boats, 200. So they'll take my 200 number, and let's say the Ozark Mountain Team Trail says, well, we're only going to have 50. No, they'll gauge, okay, it's in March. The lake can handle 250 boats.
Right.
You're good. But but if it's in June, they're going to say, no, there's a lot of pleasure boat traffic. We're only going to allow the 1 permit. So a lot of lakes, it's by number of boats are forecasted for those events. But California, different ball game where everybody comes to the Jamboree. All your tournament directors or tournament organizations show up under one building and kind of hash it out.
Yeah. Going back and forth on dates. It's like another draft, man. Like that's
yes, it's a lottery.
Yeah.
It's exciting. It's tough. Like I said a minute ago, Sal represented Major League Fishing, and he has for the last couple of years and has done a fantastic job. I think as tournament directors, anytime you've got multiple organizations like we do out west, you've got One Bass, Billy Egan, a fantastic tournament director and a great tournament organization. You got the new tournament organization, Mark Lassane. You got Nugent. There's so many high end, if you want to call it that, tournament trails. I think it's just real important that we all communicate, with each other in advance. Billy and I have been speaking for the last 2 years. Believe it or not, Randy McBride from a while back, huge help to me and giving me contacts, a lot of these other tournament organizations, and it allowed me to reach out to all these guys and say, hey, here's the dates I want, the locations that I want in California. Hopefully this won't be a problem. If it is, let me know, see if we can't work on something. So a lot of those hiccups may be hashed out in advance before you get to the Jamboree and it's just right in your face.
Makes sense. Yeah, get in front of it and try and work something out on the front end before you're having to scramble. So with are you on the phone then? If you're not in there directly, you're like, okay, we can do that. Like, is it literally like an NFL draft? You're like, all right, we'll take him. Like,
I'm like the GM on the back, and I'm calling, hey, we just got you. I'm just letting you know. I'm calling Russo's. Russo's, we're in. Write me down. I've already got it. Yeah. No, unfortunately, my phone is on and running. Sal did call me right in the middle of it this year and said, hey, I've got to move both of our dates. I was like, whoa. Yeah. Sal, we have 2 dates in California.
Yeah.
I was good a week ago. What do you mean? We can't move. We have the invitationals, the Major League Fishing invitationals and the Bass Pro Tour. And a lot of these guys, we're hoping like Ty Howe and Lane Olson and Philip Dutra. We want to be able to have all these guys on the West Coast that fish those invitations. So we were very limited on days. Kind of putting the carriage in front of the horse here, but Sal knew what our contingency plan would be. And of course, that's just what Billy has done as well. And it's brilliant. It works out fantastic. But there's so many tournament organizations that want weekend dates. So by allowing our Toyota Series West to do Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays, it really gets us out of the way on a lot of those guys. So once we had a couple conflicts at the Jamboree, no worries. Just slide to the weekdays. And both of our California events in 2024, Clear Lake as well as the Delta, will be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Got it. Yeah. I mean, totally a selfish thing, but not living in, California or the Delta or that kind of in that region, in that sphere. I really don't mind those because I'm taking off kind of the end of a work week to then start practice on the weekend and then into the beginning of the week. But then what's nice is I get generally in Idaho now, I'm only going to be maybe a day drive, but previously it was a 2-day drive always. Right. And so it was like, I have to get back. And if you do make the final day, then it's like, crap, I'm going to getting back at the beginning of a work week, which is always harder than leaving at the end of a work week. So it's kind of like, but I mean, cause I don't think it's a horrible compromise at all, but that's,
I really like the back end factor. If you do have a day's drive, it does allow guys to travel all day Saturday if they don't, or, get on the road Friday, maybe knock half of it out, pull over, sleep in the truck for a couple hours, you're home Saturday afternoon, and you've got a day and a half to recoup before you got to get back in the
Right.
gym.
Because I don't care who you are. Like, and this is like anyone listening, work related stuff. Like, you come back from a 3-day tournament plus 4 days of practice, 3 days of practice, whatever it is, like that Monday is not productive for the first 4 hours. Like, it's nice to have that day between.
You're lucky you can close your hands,
Yeah.
from the line cuts and the fish fins and from holding reels. I mean, I wrote a blog several years ago. I did a tournament on Lake Eufaula in Alabama, and it sleeted the whole day. It was cold at takeoff. It sleeted all day long. The weigh-in was terrible. It was windy. And on the ride home, it hit me that most people will never understand what it takes to compete in these, to fail miserably in conditions like that, how bad our back hurts and our kidneys and our hands.
Yeah.
And then to wake up the next day, on Sunday, go out to the shop, have a cup of coffee, lick our wounds, retie, and get ready for the next one. And how hard it is, not only physically, but mentally. But like you said, after 7 days of it, it's a toll.
Yeah. There's a wake up call. Yeah, totally agree. And everyone's like, oh, cool, tournament fishing. That sounds so nice. And it's like,
It's so
anyone who
easy.
knows, like, it's like, man, what sucks is going in 3 to 4 footers and it's blowing and raining and my back hurts because I've been running 20 miles in it. And it's just like, oh yeah, it's all part of it. It's cool because you understand it. Like you get it. And obviously you're around it all the time. And
Well, it's even like those days that my friends that don't fish that I grew up with,
yeah,
still best friends with group chats and texts with some of my closest friends ever that don't fish. And they'll come visit and they're like, hey, it's a beautiful day. We should go fishing. I'm like, no, we're not going to catch anything. There's not a cloud in the sky, not a breath of air. No,
yeah,
I want it raining. I
yeah,
want fog. I want mist. I want rain. I want a little bit of wind. I want the worst days.
yeah.
Then I'll take you fishing and we'll catch a few. But
We'll
if not, we're
smash
just
'em.
going to lay in the pool all day. Yeah, we'll smash them. If not, we're just going to lay in the pool all day.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
like it. Nah, dude, I'm right there with you. With the new dates or the dates, the adjustments and those kinds of things, can you leak that stuff right now as far as
Yeah,
the actual dates
absolutely.
for?
Obviously, until our brochure comes out, things are tentative.
Right.
But really, state of California, the reason why I don't have any problem getting it out there is everybody was at the Jamboree. Everybody,
Right. I guess that's one benefit to it. It's like we're here. We've
yeah,
done it a
there's
year in
really no
advance.
secret.
Like, yeah,
Oh, gosh, hang on. Phone. There's
yeah,
really no secret, so I definitely don't have a problem. But yeah, last year we really wanted to go to Clear Lake. The water levels were low at the beginning of the year, and there's not hardly anybody that would put that on the schedule. Just it was getting definitely low. We ran one 2 years ago out of Redbud, and gosh, you could barely get on and off the trailer. So
yeah.
whenever they got the water and Clear Lake rose unbelievably, and somebody, I don't know if it was New Gen, somebody had a tournament in March, and it was like 38 pounds.
Oh, dude, it like turned on, right? Like the bags out of Clear Lake. And it was not just that, it was like 38 pounds. And I don't know how far it got until you're, how
Yeah,
many places down you're still in 25 pounds. Like it was
it
just
was
bad.
unreal.
Yeah.
And it was just like light bulb, of course, the easy light bulb. It was an easy one. I was
Yeah.
like, there's no way we're not going to try that.
Yeah.
After seeing that tournament results, and I like history on lakes, but also lakes trend. We talked about a
Oh,
little
for
bit
sure.
ago. I'm on Kentucky Lake in 2010. My little Tuesday nighter, I was winning with 23, 24 pounds. Now you show up with 6, you got a chance. Lakes
The
trend.
smallmouth.
Smallmouth only. You have
Yeah.
to target. Anyways, that's a
Yeah.
whole other conversation. So Clear Lake, the fish, of course, granted, they haven't had a hook in their face, in a while
It's
because
a good
of the
point.
water.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of like when you go up to Canadian waters. You cannot
Right.
fish Canadian waters to the 4th weekend in June.
It's a
So when
really
we
good
have those tournaments on the opener, they haven't seen a hook in 6 months because it's been closed to fishing. You
right.
know, so the
Right. Cause
fish.
that was the thing on Clear Lake, right? It was like no boats could get on at all. Like it was like it was a break.
Yeah, and a much needed break. So when it finally opened back up, it just busted open like gangbusters. Well,
Yeah.
let's just pray over the winter. We still continue to get some more water. It stays where it's at. So March 6th through the 8th, we locked down Clear Lake. We're
Okay.
still undecided exactly. We're literally almost done figuring out where we're going out of. We went out of Redbud last time we were there. Wasn't I got a lot of angler feedback going on Redbud. Library Park is an amazing place to go as well. So we're still looking at exactly what end of the lake, and we should have that in a week, in the next week. So, but the fact is, Jamboree permit set for March 6th through the 8th on Clear Lake. And a little plug for our college anglers.
Yeah.
We will have a Friday. Our college fishing tournament will go down on the 8th. Now,
Nice.
the Jamboree, kind of going back to that, great tournament directors. Like I said, we all have to communicate, and sometimes we have to wheel and deal, and work with other groups. And that's what Sal was able to do for us, and worked with another tournament organization. So unfortunately, we were not able to have a Saturday permit on Clear Lake. So we will not have our high school tournament at Clear Lake. But because we gave some, we got some, and we will at Delta. And we'll get to that in a minute. But so Clear Lake will just be our Toyota Series and college. Unfortunately, at this time, no high school.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. We'll swing over to the second stop. It's the toughest one. I really, for the last 2 years, wanted to go to Shasta. I know it'd be great for you. Yeah, and it is on my radar. And Rainey McBride, kind of my advisor, I will say, he's been awesome to me and just gives me so much information. It's amazing. But it's really hard to leave off the one tournament that we've had the best participation in 2 years in a row. I mean, 2 years ago, my very first tournament on the West Coast, Havasu, we had 94 boats. Not a lot of boats, but the biggest I've seen so far out there. And that, like I said, comes at Havasu.
Yeah. I love Havasu. It's a cool place.
Well, the 2 years I've been out there, we've been out there very early.
Really? Yeah, yeah.
The last day of February or we might have been, I think the first year it was February 2nd through the 4th. That is ringing a bell. The first week of February. And it was cold. Everybody says, "Oh, you're going to Arizona. It's Phoenix."
Desert, man. I messed that up too. My first time down there in February, like I had no idea how cold it got at night. Like I was like, "Whoa,
I didn't pack a hoodie or a pair of jeans." I was like, "Going to Phoenix. It's like 80 there all winter." No. Right. 48 at takeoff, and I'm out there in shorts and a t-shirt. Like, what? Yeah. And it's that desert cold too.
Yeah,
it's a whole different kind of cold.
Dry cold.
Yes, yeah. So, and then last year we was able to, or this year in 2023, we were in March, I believe, towards the end of March. Still had cold, a little bit.
Yeah.
But again, I watched. Well, who was it? I want to say One Bass had their tournament, or somebody once again had their tournament the last week of April. Maybe it was Rick Grover had his appreciation tournament. I'm not sure, but it was the last week of April. And once again, post spawn, where we've been there pre-spawn and at the start of the spawn, the lockdown. I saw that post spawn tournament, and again, everybody smashed them. It was like, wow, okay, eye opener, different type of fishing than what we've been doing the last 2 years. I like to mix it up. Nobody wants to keep going to the same pond on the same date, same year. You're going to have the same results typically.
Yeah.
It's fishing, so it changes, but it can get very repetitious. Maybe 6 out of your top 10 are the same 6. But by going from February and March of the last 2 years to May 1st through the 3rd, will be a significant difference in how we fish on the lake. And so Havasu, stop number 2, would be a Thursday, Friday, Saturday event. And unfortunately, that's a long drive for you to go home and be back to work on Monday. But May 1st through the 3rd, yeah.
Okay, so it'll be warm Havasu. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever even spent any time on Havasu where it hasn't been pre-spawn or spawn. So that's like, you know what I mean? Like that is something different.
Yeah, let's get it spun up a little bit. If I can't go to Shasta yet, which I'm not banking on 2025 yet, but watch out Shasta, watch out Meade.
Okay.
Those are definitely 2 on the radar. I mean, you can read it in the book.
There we go.
Anyways, but for 2024, Havasu it is, but it's going to be a different time of year. And like you said, and it's going to be hot. I wanted to do that last week of April, but you really got to watch out for spring break.
Right.
Whole month of April. You've really got to watch. I think they have the last week of April this year. They've got some type of like helicopter racing, some crazy thing with the long boats at the same time. I don't know, but they were like, no tournaments, on the last week of April. So we went to stay away from the spring breakers that first week of May. Hopefully, will work out for us.
I like
and
it.
A little bit of a break between the two. I know the last couple of years we've been really tight.
Boom,
So
boom,
it's kind
boom.
of spread us out a little bit.
March, May, and then where are we wrapping things up?
Yeah, we're wrapping up. We partnered with the city of Oakley at the Delta.
Right, at the last
year, and as well as at the same time for 2024. We really partnered up with a couple of years. We like to try to build these relationships with these communities. From the operations side, it's fantastic. When you have a partner in that town that you can just call up. So the folks there with the city of Oakley allowed us to pick whatever week we wanted, of course, providing the Jamboree would work out.
Jamboree, yeah.
I know in the state of California, what is it, after June 15th, they go to like 6-hour days or 17th, something like that.
As far as the how long a tournament can be on the water before they have to weigh in.
Right.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to go as late as possible, as far as I could, without getting into that 6-hour deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what we ended up with in my pre-dates talks with other tournament directors, at the time, there was another tournament organization out there that was going to go up to the last day. It was a 3-day tournament that was going to go right up to the last day before the 6-hour tournament hours law goes into effect.
Yeah.
So we went the week in advance, a week ahead of that, kind of moved up a week to try to help that out. But so we are at the Delta June 5th through the 7th.
June 5th through the 7th. All right.
Again, different, this past year, what were we there? March and April?
March and then April. But the year before that, wasn't it? There was a June one. Wasn't there a June one in there?
You know what?
In 2021? Or
20, I started in 2022 and we, it may have been. No, there's no. Anyways, somewhere up there. Now you're going to make me look.
I'm looking right now.
Yeah. I'll beat you to it. No, you're going to get me. Schedule. 22. So we went 2021, right?
I think it was, I want to say, here we go. In 2022, there was June 2nd through the 4th.
Well, I'll be danged. Oh, that's right. Yeah. And by the way, I just nailed it myself. Yeah.
Gosh, I'm trying to think. I fished that one as a co-angler. I'm going to just think back of what we were doing.
Did you really? Well, should be similar, to what we had the first. Gosh, I remember too.
Or no, maybe I wasn't.
Oh, Bub Tosh won it. Yes, it was. Bub won that one with Kyle Grover in second place.
There you go.
Yes, I remember. And David Valdivia, of course, 2 years in a row, Angler of the Year, and he sealed the deal, making the top 10.
Jeez.
Let me tell you something. That dude is amazing. Not only on the water, but off the water.
Oh, yeah.
David, of course, I've gotten pretty close with Ken Ma. Without guys like them that I can just pick this phone up and shoot a question to, an idea, without Dave and Ken and several others, and I apologize if I'm missing anybody. Of course, like I mentioned earlier, Sal, there's no way I could do what I do out there living over here, but Valdivia on the water, off the water, dude is amazing.
Yeah.
We had the in-person registration at the Delta last year, and he was there handing out Toyota hats.
Toyota, the Toyota stuff. Yeah.
It was awesome.
I learned about that guy getting super lucky and drawing him as a co-angler on Clear Lake. And it was just an awesome experience, man. I mean, we're helping each other out, high five, and just having an absolute blast. So, and he'll listen to these shows. So, shout out to him. He's an awesome guy.
That dude that you just want to go fishing with during a tournament or not. And I promise you, he's going to excel, and so will you, and you'll both be better because of it.
Right.
He's that dude.
And he's a pain to fish against too, because he catches he doesn't miss. He does not miss. Yeah.
Yeah. So, man, that's our 2024 schedule. Obviously we have the No Entry Fee Championship, and that goes down every year with the Toyota Series. I get it. The biggest thing we want is a championship going that way, and this year's Toyota Series championship is at Table Rock.
Yep.
So going to be a little closer for guys.
For sure. Yeah.
Than last year was Guntersville. I can't say the same. I don't know where next year is going to be in 2024, but I can assure you it won't be closer to y'all in 2024. It's on that side, obviously, for the sake of the Northeast anglers and those Florida anglers, it's probably going east in a ways east. Right. So as bad as I hate to say that, but you know what? If someone's still going home with $235,000 at the end of the day, someone is still going to Red Crest and fishing for $300,000 at the end of the day.
And the division
may as well be one of us.
Yeah, and the division.
Patrick Toohey, awesome. Right. Last year, be the highest finisher of the 25 guys that are there from your division. It's $10,000. Toohey won that last year. Made the final day cut and got him $10,000 extra. So it's kind of a tournament within a tournament.
I think there's a lot of guys that do complain about that, and I totally get it. Like you're saying, the drive across, but there's also select guys that fish them to make that championship. I mean, for someone like myself and trying to compete at the highest level and having to drive wherever I go, like that's something I'm going to fish, right? Like I'm trying. A big reason in fishing, deciding between series was that no entry fee championship. Yes, it's a big drive, but it is an extremely cool experience. It's at the end of the year. And if you make that championship, you have a chance at some serious money. And so it's part of my thought process with it. And I know through some of the anglers that I talk to, it's the same kind of thing. And maybe it's more of these guys that are kind of not fringe, like I said, fringe West Coast, or more in the center of the West rather than the actual West. But it's something to consider, I think, for guys, for sure.
I was blown away last year at Guntersville when I went back to our customer service department. It was way before the championship started. And just asked them, hey, where are we at on the West Coast? How many guys have committed? 24 of the top 25.
Wow.
One. And he's a man. It's Kyle Grover. He's got kids. He's got a family, man. That happens to go down Halloween weekend every year. Yeah, and I understand his point. Me and him have talked several times about getting that changed. But unfortunately, we have BFL regionals, 6 of them in October. We've got the BFL Wildcard Championship the second week in November. It could be in December. And it can, obviously, we're still there. They're on St. Lawrence River right now in the Northern Division. Dude cracked 27-11. I saw that today on Smallmouth on day 2. So anyways, but so 24 out of 25 guys that qualified went. Now, a lot of them either had a buddy drive their rig over and they flew, or they flew and borrowed a truck and boat, which may not be a bad option. Where you can rent a U-Haul truck for pretty cheap on the week, and get a hold of your sponsor, and maybe they can line you up with a boat. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, dude, there's and just being from Colorado too, and with friends here that do travel to fish across the country and those kinds of things, you kind of learn little tricks and things. But leaving trucks and boats places, if you can do it, if you can have a vehicle back home, or if you don't need that, like it's awesome for that. Like it makes such a difference just flying into somewhere and staying close. And the other thing is too great about the fishing industry is you start to really meet people and get these friendships across the country. And guys are like, oh, dude, leave your truck and boat at my house. Not a big deal. Or I'll come pick you up from the airport. Like those kinds of conversations are, it never hurts to be like, hey man, we were chatting at the ramp the other day at this tournament, and I just wanted to see, I know you're in that area. Could I leave something there? Or do you have any ideas of where I could leave it? And, or worst case, you pay for storage for a month. It can save a ton of money and time.
Social media is a powerful thing. And I know of several guys that, believe it or not, rent their boats out for the week for the Toyota Series Championship.
No way.
I'll get one out there because he's put it on Facebook. It's been out there. Bill Taylor, which used to be our head of our operations.
Yeah.
My good buddy, Bill. He's got a boat, and he will rent it to people for the Toyota Series Championship every year. And he's done it the last 2 or 3 years since he retired from us. He didn't do it while he worked with us.
Yeah.
But once he retired, and there's several guys that do that. So instead of pooling yours and putting miles on the axles and the tires and everything else, man, social media is a powerful thing. Throw it out there. I would love to rent, a 20-foot bass boat for a week at Table Rock. I guarantee you somebody's going to get bit.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I never really thought about that as far as guys traveling in. I mean, there's something to be said about having your own stuff, but if you have the latest and greatest electronics and those kinds of things on that next boat, it might be better than what you have on your boat. So
Yeah, that's the difference, especially with FFS nowadays, the forward-facing sonar. That may be a difference. You know, you may have
yeah,
to go back to a flasher. I can't guarantee you, you're going to have your forward-facing on there, but hey, it's a boat that floats, and the forward-facing does not catch the fish. It's the angle.
yeah, totally true, totally true. Well, dude, I think let's kind of wrap things up here. The things that I want to finish with. Just thinking of the West Coast, and you and I kind of were talking off air, how much different it is it's a passionate group of anglers, but it's a smaller group of anglers overall, right? Compared to other parts of the country. I think a question that is always grumblings or rumors that guys have about the West, or, obviously all the stuff we've had this year that has happened, but also just, is Major League Fishing, our national scale tournament organization, still going to have a presence out here? Obviously, we have that for 2024 coming with everything going. But do you have any gauge? Like, is there like, hey, if we don't get to this standard, we're gonna have to pull out of the West? Do you have any thoughts there?
They're questionable, and obviously we look over all of our programs every year. Be it high school, college, BFL, Toyota Series, invitationals. We had the tour, the Major League Fishing Tour, basically, and then they evolved it into the invitationals, and hopefully there's some, still involving or revolving stuff going next year, all the way to the BPT. So we have to, as a company that's been doing this for 40 years. There's a reason there's tournament organizations, and this is maybe the wrong time to say this, and I'm not getting negative, but there's a reason tournament organizations come and go. Then there's reasons that tournament organizations have longevity. It's because we review and restructure constantly. Will there be changes in 2024 to the Toyota Series? I hope so. Yeah. I hope. You and I spoke off air. I think I've got great news coming to our Western anglers as far as some positive changes for the West. But as far as 2025 goes, you never know. This game can end, as we all have seen recently, overnight.
Yeah.
What you thought was the best thing since sliced bread just turned into the devil. So we never know. But you know what? We have a fantastic group of sponsors, from Toyota to Phoenix Boats to Psycho Tuna, that stepped up. Guys, and I'm not throwing plugs here on the show or on purpose, but let me just say what Psycho Tuna, the clothing company, did for our West Coast anglers. They stepped up and was the title sponsor of them and Tackle Warehouse for 2023. And it was amazing. Yeah, and I think as a company, we can have the success without a company like the Tackle Warehouse, of course, and Psycho Tuna. Aaron Yoon fished on the pro side, did a fantastic job as well. Psycho Tuna, he's like their creative director. I wore Psycho Tuna shirt earlier this morning. I love my shirt and my shorts. It's the only pair of cool shorts that I own. They're like 5-inch. You know what I mean? Don't skip leg day if you're going to wear 5-inch shorts. Let me just say that. They're like 5-inch, but all my rest of them, my son calls them my Adam Sandler shorts, like the old basketball,
Yeah.
I'm a product of the 90s. I used to hoop all over the place. Ryan, Matt, Surf, you're watching, I still got you, bro. I'm still taking you. But nonetheless, all my shorts are these bigger. So anyways, Psycho Tuna and the sponsors, I get squirreled off. To answer your question, man, yes, I don't see us leaving the West Coast. There's just too many passionate anglers. There's too many great companies. Phoenix Boats is coming on strong out west. We've got some great dealers out there. We've got a lot of great anglers representing Phoenix Boats. Of course, we talked about earlier, Aaron Valdivia. David, I called him Aaron Takeoff one day. And that's how I ended up. Now I'm screwed the rest of my life. Aaron, I called him the rest of the year, even though it's David. David Valdivia represented Toyota. We've got fantastic sponsors. And as long as MLF as a whole continues to be the leading tournament organization all over the country, it's, we have a foot in the door in the West. Billy does a fantastic job and runs a lot of numbers through his series of tournaments. But as far as a whole, 24 divisions, the BFL, 6 divisions of the Toyota Series, the Invitationals, the Bass Pro Tour, the college fishing, the high 300 and something tournaments a year, man. There's nobody. So as long as our sponsors and MLF stay partnered up, we're always. I don't want to go nowhere. I want to keep coming to the West and be a part of y'all's life and get to hang with you guys at least 3 weeks a year.
Yeah. Well, that's great to hear. And I think the other thing that's big there is just for everyone's sake, not just MLF as a tournament organization and supporting the West Coast, but getting, I think through all the drama that we've had with stuff falling out with Wild West and that kind of a thing, it's given opportunities to the other tournament organizations, right? Like you're competing for anglers that are looking for another place to fish at a higher entry fee and have those potentials. So I think there's an opportunity here right now to grow, right? And I think that there's definitely a lot of tournament organizations out west for how many anglers there are, and there's not as much crossover as there are in what seems like in other states, or have that brand loyalty to go other places across the country. But I think that there's some opportunity, and I hope to see it grow, man. I think that it's a great product, and I think the big factor for me that I never thought about until I started fishing at a higher level, talking, $1,700 entry fees, the benefits that I have seen from the coverage of the tournaments, both on the video weigh-ins, but also the on the water coverage and the on the water pictures that are taken at such a high professional level that you can then use in your social media, that people are seeing, sponsors are seeing across the country. Like those things, I didn't ever realize the value that they had. And it's something that I think is underrated for guys who don't know MLF's coverage when it comes to that.
I will be a homer here and say that I fully believe that we have the greatest coverage team, regardless website, streaming, weigh-ins, you name it. Another Matsura to mention, Rob Matsura comes out to most of our Western tournaments. The dude is absolutely amazing. And he will not only get shots, of course, as our leaders, our top 25s. How many shots at takeoff will he get you? Regardless of boat brand, motor, you're getting your time. And kind of to go back on what you said, I know we're running short here. Where one door closes, one door always opens. And obviously I'm opening the door for as many guys that we would love to have come fish with us. And I can't tell you how many guys have messaged me that I didn't know.
Oh, really? Cool.
Quite a few. And said, hey, I'm coming. I've been wanting to do it anyway for a long time. This just kind of pushed me your direction, and I'm looking forward to fishing with y'all in 2024. I've had several of those. I do know our numbers will increase just from that. Yeah. I do know, believe it or not, the college and high school programs that we commit to out there on the West Coast are bringing up the future of our sport. Granted, our numbers haven't been huge in those events, but I can tell you we have several graduates from last year that whenever we had to hug and say goodbye, because I've been out there for the last 2 years watching them grow into future anglers, are coming over on pros next year. A couple of those guys from college are already coming in on the pro side their first year. So we've got a couple college guys evolving. We're trying to break up the transition from being on top of the invitationals and try to get those, like I said, Philip Dutras and the Ty Owls and the Lane Olsons and
Andrew Loberg, man.
Yes, man, there's a ton of them. Get those guys back. Plus, unfortunately, with the one door closing, with our door open, I will be shocked if our opener at Clear Lake does not have 110 boats. I'll be shocked.
Saying it now. I like it.
I do. And I'm optimistic. Our opener in 2 years ago was 94 at Havasu. But, we're in that Clear Lake range. And if we don't get it at Clear, we're going to Havasu second to try to capitalize on that once again. So I really think we're going to have a fantastic year. And I hope everybody, if it's your first time, give us a chance. I promise you, I get to know you and I enjoy being out there with you while you compete.
Yeah. I love it. Well, dude, I think that's a great way to wrap things up. And man, I appreciate you taking the time out I know you had to literally drive back to the office to do this. So I really appreciate that. I know people think like, it's like, oh, well, you're, like you said, it's your time off. It's like, man, it's a Friday afternoon, evening for you. And you're like, hey, let's get it done. Let's get this thing up.
I had to show my bump boards off to somebody. No one's ever seen them.
No one's seen the bump boards.
I had to show off my bump boards. How amazing.
Dude, I love it. All right, Alan. Well, man, I will see you early this next year for sure. And man, with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up here. But thanks for coming on, talking West Coast, talking all that you've done. I think that was the best breakdown we've had of like the actual experience of a tournament angler and what got you to where you are. So appreciate all your time and man, have a good weekend.
God bless, dude.
All right, man. We will catch you later.